Hello everyone, I'm here with Jimmy Petruzzi. Now Jimmy has been working in therapy for a long time, speaking in front of hundreds of people in so many places around the world, and I'm lucky to get hold of him for a quick 5 to 10 minutes. And today we're going to talk about self-confidence and anxiety. So what are your top tips, or what would you say for someone that's looking to improve their self-confidence as well as overcome anxiety?
Well, I think with confidence, it's confidence. I think that most people have got the confidence to do what they want to do, say public speaking, going for an interview, playing sport. They lack the confidence for one reason or the other. Sometimes it manifests from our academic years, where throughout academia, we tend to be graded on what we've done wrong rather than what we've done right. We tend to analyse in business poor performance rather than good performance. And now throughout academia, for example, we get 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
And we focus on the 5 we got wrong, not the 5 that we got right. And we got 5 right, we can get to 6 and 7 and so forth. So for me, really, is having a system that we can grade an improvement, but focus on what we do really well. And when I say confidence, so someone said to me, could you fly a plane to America next week? I would say no, and it's not a question of confidence. I'm not a pilot, so it would make a lot of sense. At least you wouldn't be in a plane. So for me, sort of defining that confidence, but also focusing on what we do really well. Sometimes we do ourselves a disservice. We focus so much on what we don't do well, and also we compare ourselves sometimes to people in public speaking, for example, who've been doing it for a long time, and people just starting out. And that's not to say we can't improve and be equally as good, if not better. But for me, running our own race and looking to learn and model people who are where we want to be, but also running our own race and not comparing ourselves to people, going on our own journey. That's some things that people can do for confidence, and focus on times and connected experiences that we've had where we've been confident. So if you do something really well, notice what you see, what you hear, what you feel, and really anchor it, really get into a position where you can access those states of confidence, resourceful states of confidence. And you can do that by regressing to experience you've had in the past where you've been confident in certain areas and transferring it across areas that you may want to improve your confidence. So that's, in a nutshell, in the short time we've got around that area.
Wow, that's incredible. So many tips there. So get your head around competency and confidence.
Yeah, I think that's really important. I think that sometimes we do ourselves a disservice. We sort of focus on the things that we don't do well, the things that we do well, but also sometimes Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes time, and each 1,000-mile journey takes its first step. So sometimes what people go wrong is they focus on their first step, and they focus on the person who's taken 1,000 steps, and having our own esteeming strategy and way to grade ourselves in our own improvement. That really, for me, is important for confidence. And also, when we get praise, internalize it, praise ourselves. We're often our own biggest critic, and be comfortable to give ourselves praise where it's due, and inner validate ourselves too. So there's some things that people can do, certainly for confidence. Anxiety is a bigger issue, and anxiety takes many forms. In the brief time we've got, in the 5-10 minutes or so, we can sort of discuss performance anxiety and general anxiety. Performance anxiety could be presentation, sport, business, and so on and so forth. And for me, some of the key factors are, well, before I work with someone with anxiety, there are biological factors surrounding anxiety. I'm not medically qualified, so I would always send someone to see someone who's medically qualified first to see if there's imbalances biologically before we do any treatment cognitively, because there could be something they could be treated with. There's a vast amount of things that deficiencies people could have and imbalances they could have biologically that could potentially be treated. Me not being medical, I can't make any recommendation in that area. But all things being well, where that's concerned, what I do generally here, if you look at anxiety, before I do any cognitive work, I work on the biochemistry of physiology. So we can walk the way a confident person, a calm person would walk, breathing deeper. How does anxiety person breathe? They tend to breathe very high and fast, and by doing that, you send a danger signal to the brain. the sympathetic nervous system kicks in. To calm the sympathetic nervous system to parasympathetic, to relax the sphincter muscles, reduce the heart rate, we can breathe deeper. So I get people to breathe when it's suitable to do so, not when in the shower they'll swallow water, not when they're dry, but when it's suitable to do so, to breathe deeper. And in between, I can tailor audios for them cognitively to help them, because a person who's anxious is not anxious all the time. There's certain times, so we can work out, okay, we can use like various models like to find out what the thoughts are about a certain event. So if it's performance anxiety and it's presenting, it could be, okay, what are your beliefs about the presentation? How does that impact your emotion? How does it impact your behavior and physiology? So we'll strike at every area and we'll look at the people's underlying beliefs around presenting, around interviews, around sport, whatever it is, and that will tell us a lot about what their beliefs about the situation is. And most of the time when people have got anxiety, they distort reality through irreproportional. So they might present and see people a lot taller than what they are, and eyes focusing on them, and so the sort of cartoon inner representation they've got is far more distorted than what it is. So we can see it for what it is, and hypnosis is a great tool to set a well-formed outcome, to mentally rehearse a positive hallucination. You see yourself doing what you want to do well, presenting well. If you do it in the mind, you can do it in reality. Doing the sport well, doing whatever it is that they want to do well and more adaptive is quite useful. So that's sort of in a nutshell a useful way to work in the cognitive area, because people who've got anxiety tend to say some pretty nasty things to themselves, and they do distort reality a lot more than what it is. And with general anxiety, a lot of things can spark that off. It could be a physiological symptom, and if it is a physiological symptom, it's always good to get reassurance from a medical person. Okay, if there's a pain somewhere, to make sure that it's not something that is a medical issue. If it's not a medical issue and they've got reassurance for that, then it's useful to work on that. So that's sort of in a nutshell. It's a broad area, but that gives you an idea. For me, the anxiety, make sure there's no underlying biological medical issues, and the medical person can treat that. All things being well, and if there is, if the medical person is happy to do the cognitive work, then I think a good place to start is the breathing, and then beyond the breathing, it's the cognition, the way we process our thoughts about a specific event, because even the most anxious person is not anxious all the time. And for me, it's turning the anxiety into a verb, not a noun. We're not a noun, we're not redundant, we're not a person, place, thing, we're not anxious all the time. How are you anxietying yourself? And get a map of that reality. What do you see, what do you hear, what do you feel? So we can get a map of that reality when a person experiences that anxiety. So I would say, how are you anxietying yourself in that situation? And that gives you a map of their reality, an association to the experience, and then we can alter that by creating a new well-formed outcome. How you look, how you feel, what you see in the presentation, and so on and so forth. So in the short time we've got, I hope that sort of gives it a bit of light in those areas.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for that. We've touched on so many different aspects of anxiety and how to look at it in different ways. So we spoke about the biological imbalances, sort of like chemical imbalances through diet, exercise, and so on. So that's something that I didn't know. So thanks for
medical conditions as well. And the medical person's the best person to talk to that about. That's for sure.
Yeah. So it's about sort of raising awareness of yourself of these areas and see what's triggering it, and then focusing on things like your perception of this thing, anxiety.
Your appraisal of the situation, for sure. But your appraisal of the situation is one thing, then by reappraising the situation. So it could be an underlying schema, an association we've got formed early on in our life. So the schema could be, we see sometimes in presenting, some people talk about being told off at school and get to the front of the classroom and why have you done your homework? So they have a schema of talking in front of people. From that point of view, and that wound opens up. Under stressful circumstances, and really we can sort of, the way that mind works, we have a flood of information coming into our senses, see, hear, feel, taste, smell, every second. Science says it's now about 12 million pieces of information, and we streamline that. We can break that down to, say, 134 pieces of information, and that sort of gets filtered, deleted, distorted, generalized, and then that goes through another series of filters that involve language, memories, values, beliefs, meta-programs, and then we have another effect that goes into inner representation, like the cartoon above the sort of cartoon animation we see, like someone said. That impacts our state, and that impacts our physiology and our behaviour. That's in a nutshell. Obviously, there's a little bit more to it than that.
Yeah.
We can email if they want to, but the idea is really it's our perception. And if we can do a reappraisal, a reassociation, it can have a big impact. Just like someone might be anxious presenting, it's our appraisal of that situation. So if they're walking down the street, for example, and they fell out with their best friend a week earlier, mild fallout, their best friend walked straight past them, the appraisal might be, are they not speaking to me no more? Are they not my friend? And we can have all these sort of perceptions of reality. But the logical thing to do would be, and the behaviour might be irrational. It might be send them escaping. Why do you ignore me for? You know what's happening. So the logical thing to do would be to push it to the frontal cortex of the brain and see it logically and say, are you okay? Did you see me? Now they might have saw and walked away. There's a very good chance they may not have saw that person. And the reappraisal impacts the emotion. Because if you talk to your coach and the coach says, are you sure they saw you? You might think, well, actually, you know what? I better text them. They say, no, I didn't see you. The emotion changes of that situation. So appraisal of the situation is really important, and that applies for a lot of things in life that happen. You know, redundancy, life's challenges that we have, breakups, and many things that we experience in life. It's our appraisal has a big impact on how we feel emotionally.
Wow, golden stuff there. Appraise. If you got anxiety, focus on your appraisal of the situation.
I think so. The meaning you give in that situation.
The meaning you attach to it.
I think so. And all things being well, it's not a biological issue that can be treated by a suitable physician. And look at breathing is quite useful too before we sort of go and do a presentation. So maybe we breathe a bit deeper to calm the nervous system down. And then we can look at the appraisal of the situation, our beliefs about the situation, our beliefs about presenting, and maybe reframe it, redefine it, challenge some of the beliefs, drop down with meta model, arrow model, and get a deeper insight into what's going on in the person's psychological condition. And then we can sort of look at strategy and structure to break the belief down, and you can techniques like visualization, rehearsal, which are quite useful too, anchoring, many techniques that people are welcome to email if they want more information on that. The short time we've got, cover as much as we can.
I know. Wonderful. Thank you very much for your time. I shall leave a link below to access Jimmy Petruzzi's content, his website, his social media, his YouTube account. I'd highly recommend. There's plenty of high value content, very sincere, very genuine, plenty of experience, years and years of experience dealing with hundreds of clients. You just saw for yourself the amount of depth that Jimmy goes into these things. He looks at it, he splits it into so many aspects and looks at it from so many different angles. Very insightful. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hope to have you again on our channel very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raj.
Cheers.